Okay. Uh, this is a test. Um. Uh. I. Oh. Wow. Okay. I think I think my laptop is complaining already. Oh my god. Okay. Um, right. Okay. Well. Wow. Someone has joined. Hello. Um. Wow. Okay. Well, they left already. Okay. Well, that's amazing. Okay. Wow. That's fine. It's fine. Just testing. It clearly seems to be working though, so that's nice that like it works. Um, Looks like we're doing just fine though in terms of yay Desmos. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Um, so this is just a test. But I'm gonna be going over some pretty interesting things here. So stick around. But I'll I'll figure out some way to put like chat like on the side like I'm pretty sure you've seen streams where like the live chat just comes down in real time. I'll figure that out at some point, but yeah, so this is we're just sort of testing to see how well this runs. I think Glasmos should make this quite a bit faster, right? Let's see. Um, yeah, that runs quite a bit faster. Okay. Yep. And that does seem to take a toll on my GPU quite a bit though, so maybe not. Maybe we don't do that, right? Yeah, maybe not, maybe not. Okay. Hmm, let's see. Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay. Um. Yeah. Oh, the GPU is roaring. Okay. Well, it's integrated GPUs, so there's really not much to do, but it's like, okay. Oh wait, it's not in that. Okay. All right. Um. Yeah. I'm gonna get started soon, but just gotta have a background contour just enjoy. I might go over this actually, but it's just a bit of math, but um, yeah. Actually, wait. Let's see. Oh, there's just so many. Wow. Okay, wait. Can Tidal Wave be played live? Wait. I'm like, wait. Oh my god, wait. Okay. Wait, crap. I think I forgot to set the desktop audio on. Okay, let's try that again. Alright, hello, yeah. So this is Tidal Wave, and, yeah. But, oh, okay. So the neat part about this is that, you can scroll through this, you can skip back and forth, like that here. But yeah, I think this one, I think I posted a link at some point, but I think I have the new version here, so, yeah. Alright, there we go. So yeah, I just posted a link, there. The stream is ever so slightly behind, what's going on in real time, so it's a bit off, but, I mean, maybe at some point I'll make it so that it is fully synced, but yeah, so there's a link. Enjoy it, go ham, do whatever. But yeah. So this is my first stream. And I imagine there's going to be people rewatching this, hopefully, but but yeah. So one of the things I'm going to be doing right now is I'm actually going to be going over this certain website here, and this might be a bit familiar to some of you all, but let's take a look here. So as you can see, this is is the website in question, right? um, yeah, the main page is this. I should probably delete this back because we don't need that. This is a pretty nice website, right? Let's see, that's cool and all. Now there's this question though. On whether or not GD Cologne is a furry, right? The answer as he puts it is no, right? And you can see that right here, right? It's pretty clear. Duh, right? But I mean, like, okay, like, come on, right? You've seen his avatar. You've seen some of the artwork, right? Like, obviously there's more to it than what he lets on. So obviously we've got to analyze this website, right? Like we got to take a look at the truth, right? Because GD Cologne says he's not a furry, but like, come on, like we all know the real answer to this, right? So we're gonna be analyzing this, and yeah, so let's get right into it, right? So let's see, get body, div, stop. We're just gonna get through this. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of nesting here. And so it says, okay, H1 message, you're the worst. I hope you know that. No, right? And by the way, this tag, change text if you have small PP. Really? So that's a bit mean, but we'll change this, right? So let's change that. To the right answer, the correct answer, right? Obviously it's yes, right? Yeah, so let's try that out here. And as you can see, it starts to go a bit ham. Yeah, clearly GD Cologne doesn't like that. So we might as well get through the messages here. Skipped a few. But it'll take a lot more than that to outsmart me, right? The truth is, I was once like you. That's debatable, but okay. Curious, sneaky, little mischievous, sure. But that just led you right into my trap, right? Okay, right? This is war, and I will continue to fight for what I believe is right. Okay? I will defend my title and fight for who I am. I will always be one step ahead of you. Okay? War never changes. Just a moment here. Alright. May we cross paths again in the future. Okay. I'll be waiting. Alright. And you want to know where we go to? Oh god, okay. That's so funny, the ad loaded after we get rickrolled. Okay. Alright. Alright, so let's go back here, right? As you can see, it's still yes, right? Because browser state. So we gotta refresh this. I just clicked Control-Shift-R for those of you following along. But yeah, so now we're back to this no page. Yeah. So now we're now back at no, right? So okay. So obviously editing this H1 instance, it just doesn't work, right? Now the next natural question is, okay, like what if we just delete it, right? So let's try that. As you can see, it's clever enough to say, bro, what the fuck, right? It's calling me a moron, which rude, but no, right? Now, your next instinct might just be to edit this, right? Like, okay, like, surely you've gone past that, and we can just change that, right? But we get the same thing, right? And because I'm not going to deal with that, okay, well, it's not letting me refresh, so we're just going to new tab and just move on, right? So now let's go back to inspect here. And now we're back to the original page where it tells us that we have a small PP, which, seriously? But anyways, so deleting H1 doesn't work, to recap, because, we just get this. So now the next obvious question is, okay, right, like, maybe we just add a different, no, not attribute. We just add a new element, right? I'm just gonna edit this HTML, because I'm not a big web dev, but it's whatever. So let's just add an H2 element, or actually no, let's try H1, right? Like just another one, right? What could possibly go wrong, right? And oh, that's weird. We get yes. Okay. Now that's strange, right? That is strange. And we get yes, right? But you know what that means, right? Like we can just hide. We can hide this, right? Hidden, like so. And okay, keep forgetting to enter. And there we go, right? So that's probably the first and probably one of the fastest ways to turn this no into a yes. In spec, I guess to just do that. Just add another H1, hide the first one, and just say yes, right? And I'm assuming, as a matter of fact, you can just change this to whatever you want. This, right? It's like hello, right? Furry, right? Form ipsum, right? Oh, that goes into 2 pages. Okay. Hello, Lightners Live GD. Yeah, I'm just gonna be looking at the chat from time to time, but anyways, let's see, we can say, like, fur, right? So we can just edit this to whatever we want, right? Now there are some interesting messages here that are also in store here, but let's take a look at some of the other ways we can do this. So if we go back here, we can actually delete this div, and we actually get the same result as if we deleted H1 like so, as you can see. But let's delete the body now. What happens when we delete the body, right? Well, I guess it says stop trying. I mean, we already figured out how to change this to a yes, so I'm not sure that this tag really makes sense, but yeah, we really just did remove the body tag, and I guess you summoned it back in, so it's not very helpful. Anyways, if we try to set this to a yes again, like before, you get the same thing, right? It's no fun. So let's spawn in a new web page here. Now there is an interesting aspect to this website actually. If we go in here, if we edit as HTML, and we say H2, and if I say yes, we actually get a different message this time. I'm not sure. I don't think as many people have gone over this, because I'm sure, like, I know GOGD has gone over this website. I know quite a few people have gone over this website. But this is an alternative message ending here. So it says, right? I see how it is, right? Don't you have anything better to do with your life? I mean, probably not. I'm streaming this, right? So, I would have fixed this a long time ago, but everything changed after people found ways to make the site say yes. Well, yeah, I mean, you did ask for it, so. By the time I noticed the fatal mistake, it was already too late. Have you ever tried using a keyboard with pause? Who says I wouldn't try it? It took a long time to get used to this body, but I finally fixed it. That's cool. And now once more I can proudly say that, you're a furry, right? That seems to be the next logical conclusion, right? I am not a furry. Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, yeah, of course. Okay. Please leave. Oh. And we get to, what is this?
Yeah, you know what's odd? If something's free, okay, people just can't resist it. Doesn't matter what it is.
Of course, that's ironic. Okay. Okay, I don't know what this is. But okay. That's cool. And this page is blank, of course. Okay, so let's just go back in here, right? So that's pretty much most of the things you see up front, but there are a few other ways to change this, as it turns out. So, for one, I think if we enter as HTML here, I believe in theory, let's see, if I do anything else, right, like do, right, I think it's fine. Yeah, it's kind of small, just like shoved back there. But yeah, as long as yes isn't in here, I'm assuming that the website won't care. So like if I have like GD Cologne is a furry, right? That amazingly actually stays there, which is really funny. Um, because it's a different way to answer the question, and it's still legit, but okay. So that's cool, I guess. Anyways, now I guess we can check the header, right? So if you have some Google Analytics, sure. We have the fluff icon. That's cool. Okay. So there really isn't too much here, but it's weird. It's weird how there's a Twitter card when there's no Twitter. But all right, that's fine, I guess. Okay. So, so now let's go into the console here. Or no, I think sources. Yeah, I'm not used to the difference between Firefox and Chromium, so that does very little. But anyways, so it's gonna furry here. Oh, this is the HTML page. Okay. All right, so we have assets, and then we have jQuery min.js, right? So jQuery, for those of you who don't know, it's this outdated framework that people somehow still use to build websites. It's ridiculous that people still use this, but well, I guess I shouldn't say ridiculous. I should say more like if you're considering this for a new project, don't. But yeah, there are a lot of scripts that use this for legacy. So, anyways, so let's get started breaking this down here. I'm just gonna shove that in as far right as possible here. So we have jQuery. It's like da da da. Okay. So far it's just very boring jQuery, right? Very boring. Yeah. And what's interesting though is you'll notice that these variable and function names, they're all minimized. And part of this is because of performance, and part of this I think is also because of network bandwidth. I would assume, because the more characters you have, obviously the longer it takes for code to send over the internet, right? So we also have we have this regular expression, which is a bit interesting that it would just be there, but I'm sure there's a good answer for that, right? So we are just going through the archives here. I'm sure we'll find it, right? By the way, this is a very long script. Yeah, the other thing is that wouldn't be in Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager, because that comes from Google, right? No way that this website could be edited directly by Google, unless they're hiding something, of course. But oh, okay. Well, this is new. Cat fell asleep on the keyboard. Just ignore this. Okay. Wow. All right. That's cool, I guess. I don't think I'll be able to ignore this, but yeah. So this is the first big thing from GD Cologne's website, is this def, right? This obviously leads to something, but what does it lead to, right? And we'll find that out in a moment. But anyway, we'll just keep scrolling, because I'm sure we'll find more, right? But as you can see, this script is just massive. It's just massive. So we'll just keep looking. We'll just keep scrolling, right? Okay. So as you can see, we have a regular expression here. So I think what this is doing is it's replacing all the characters with just blanks. So it's going to replace, like, so basically, in other words, within def, which is what we just saw earlier, right? If we go back up here, right? From def, right? What's going to happen is this regex is going to go through. If it sees any one of these characters, it's going to delete those characters. And this G is just global. So basically, instead of finding the first occurrence, I believe it just finds all occurrences. So yeah. So that's the first instance. The other thing is the script is kind of wide, so I could also be missing some other code, but we'll get to that later. So you have more jQuery things, yada yada. This is boring. Okay. All right. So here we are. So this is the crux of the code. This is what is causing this text to change, right? So it's this. It is this part of the code, and I guess you have to activate the observer, right? So it's this. It is this that that handles this. So this part of the code is responsible for the page trying to fight back against you, basically. So yeah. So this is the main part of the code. And what we can do is, well, we can read it. So let's actually take a look at what's going on, right? And this will really explain the entire behavior of this website, right? So let's first start with this, right? So first we have if not document.body, right? And what this means, in essence, is, okay, does the body exist, right? And this exclamation mark is just not. So in other words, this if statement is just, okay, if the body does not exist, then what do we do, right? So then we say, all right, we let the new body be equal to document create element body, right? So we just created body, right? Then inside that body, we insert this inner HTML, which just stop trying. Did you really just move the body tag? No, right? So as you can see, that is the exact behavior we observed, right? So we delete the body. As you can see, we get the exact same HTML, right? I think we'll edit this as HTML, just make it a bit clearer. As you can see, it's the same string, right? If I go in here, if I control F for this, boom, right? So there you go, right? Now next up, we now have found H1, right? So, alright. So we have found H1. And then we have this, which, this is a mouthful, by the way, but we'll break it down here. So, this first part here, all it's really saying is, okay, we have a document, body, query selector all, that is not H1. So in other words, we want to find everything that isn't an H1 instance, right? Then we have these dots, which I presume this is because this returns an iterator. I'm not fully sure, but it does seem to return some iterator. So, return something that can't quite fit into a list or an array. So then we have this ... which I assume unpacks it. Then we wrap this all in a list. So in other words, all this is really doing is, okay, we're just getting all the elements that are not H1, and of those elements that are not H1, what we're gonna do is for each, we're gonna find those whose inner HTML does not include H1. So basically what that means is, like, for example, right, if this contains H1, right, then this would not be found, right? So then we have and, right, inner HTML 2 lowercase includes yes. So really what this is translating to is, okay, right, for all elements that are not H1 instances, if there exists a single HTML element whose inner body does not include H1 and whose inner text contains yes, then we will just set the background color to black. Then we will parse def, and then we will get sent to wherever this URL takes us, right? So that's really what's going on here, and that's why, and this part of the code is really why is it's really why when I set the when I added an H2 element that said yes, that it would take us to that alternate place. So if I try that again here, right? Sure enough, right? We see the message that def gives us. We can go through this. No, I have not tried using a keyboard with pause. I'm not a furry, please leave. Okay, looks like... Ah, shoot. Not the video again. Okay, alright. Get rid of that here. Oh. Alright. Alright. Let's go back here. Let's pull out Inspect here. And let's go back to where we were. So yeah, so that's part so this part, in summary, this really just handles all the non-H1 elements that contain yes. And it's gonna parse def, and it's gonna send us to this URL. And now, it's interesting that this would be obfuscated. I assume that's because GD Cologne didn't want us poking through this. But, I mean, it might be a bit too late for that, right? But let's actually take a look at what A to B does here, right? So in place of that, as you can see, it's the same URL that we ended up in earlier, right? So, first part here, all this really does is it just concatenates the two strings together. Concatenation is just fancy for just, like, appending, right? Or just, like, adding to a string, right? Then after that, A to B converts base64 text into plain text. So, base64 can be useful for serialization. So, like, for example, if we go to crypty. Okay, well, I can't spell, apparently. Okay. Alright. There we go. So, let's decode base64 here. And as you can see, when I paste this, we get that exact URL here, right here. So GD Cologne was using base64 encryption here, which, by the way, isn't really an encryption scheme as much as it is a probably a data representation scheme, because it's more of just trying to keep things safe to send. Because the other useful thing with base64 is that if I have any weird syntax, like, let's see if any of y'all might recognize this. Yeah, so like say we have little Bobby tables here, right? If you encode this in base64, right? Base64, right? It contains the regular alphabet, right? Uppercase, lowercase, so that's like 26. Lowercase characters 26, uppercase characters, so that's 52 characters, right? Then we have the 10 digits, so that's 62 characters. And after that, there's two more characters, which is the equal sign, and there's like one other character in base64. I'm not fully sure what character that is, but yeah, it's 64 because there's 64 characters, right? But yeah, let's see if we can actually trigger that last one. I think it might be a slash or maybe a minus for the last character, but anyway. So yeah, so let's see, base64, right? So this has to be decoded, which is fine for the browser, but it does make searching for this a bit of a pain. So once again, right, that's why, let's copy the link, right? That's why, you couldn't just control F for this, right? This is not there. You wouldn't see this, and that's because it's obfuscated like so. Yeah. So the other thing is this JSON parse A to B def for each, right? So looks like, again, def is base64 encoded. So we kind of saw this earlier, right? Like if we go def equals here. So as you can see, this is the original big string. Let's not edit that here. So I think def was also edited at some point, right? Yeah, so we have def.replace, right? So yeah. So if we really walk through this, right, if we have, if we just copy this into the console here, we have our, say var test And we have test here. This is our string, right? Then what we're going to do is we're going to sort of see what this is really doing in the back end, right? So let's go here. Yeah, so now let's replace with this, right? With this regular expression here. So we now have test.replace, right? Like so here. And as you can see, this just removes all the characters that aren't necessary, right? Then what we're going to do is we are going to, if I can pull it up here, there we go. We're gonna A to B this, so we're gonna decode this base64 string here, and so we're gonna do this. Then I'm just gonna go A to B here. There you go. As you can see, we now get a regular string, right? And this is JSON here, which is JavaScript object notation. It's just a fancy way of representing objects in text form. It's useful for sharing things over the web. It's just a common data format. It's pretty useful. But anyways, so that's what this is, right? So as you can see, so this script, really, what it's doing here, as you can see, so def becomes a string, but now we have to parse this, right? So that way we can turn a string into an actual JavaScript object that JavaScript can now use, right? So now we have JSON dot, I believe parse should be it, right? Yeah. And as you can see, we get our array. Here, look at that, right? So once we have our array here, we now go in and say for each item in this array, and x. So this is a lambda. Basically, it's just like a mini function. So instead of having to write like bloated syntax, we just do this. It's very convenient. So we'd say x alert x, right? Then after we do all the alerts, we then set the location to that video we saw earlier. So that's how the alert system works here, for at least for this part. So yeah. So now this is just the first part here. We still have a few more parts. So the first part is okay. Otherwise, if we have not found an H1, so really what this is asking for is, okay, because remember earlier up here, right? We wanted to select the H1 element, right? Now if we don't have any H1 elements present, then this will return false, right? So this will return document body inner HTML. We have bro, WTF, div message moron, no, right? So as you can see, this line of the code here really represents this, right? So again, right, if we go back here and I delete this H1 element, boom, right? As you can see, we get that exact HTML that we see here, right? So now, this is the last big part. We have no, and no. And so this just includes found one inner HTML. So basically, just seeing if the inner HTML is one of these things, right? So for example, here actually, as it turns out, if I say something like no with a period here, as you can see, it's perfectly fine, right? Because what's going on is, right, when we change the element here, the body exists, the H1 is found. For all elements that aren't H1, well, all of the ones that we have found do include the H1. So really, this just becomes false and we don't deal with this. Then we have the otherwise if we haven't found the H1, but we have found the H1, right? Then we have found the H1 and what's inside the H1 element is no with a period, and that is a valid item within this array. So we return, right? Perfectly compliant, perfectly happy, right? This is the intended behavior, right? But the fundamental flaw here, and I think I went over this actually in one of my YouTube shorts, like a really long while back. This was way before I started making audio covers. Was that notice this query selector versus query selector all. And it's because of the fact that this is only getting one H1 element versus all, h1 elements, right? So, like, for example, if GD Cologne had gone to look at this, like, for each, like for each h1 element instead of just one, then we would have had a much harder time editing this website, right? As it turns out, it's because we only select one h1 element that this script is flawed here, right? And so that's why, right, if I add a new h1 element, like so here, hello, right? As you can see, even though this, this hello h1 element, really shouldn't be valid, right? But it's because of this query selector where we only get the first h1 element that it turns out that it will just ignore this. As the script, as far as it's concerned, does not care about what this is. So this means we can put whatever we want, right? We can put anything, right? We can put furry, right? We can put Cologne, right? We can put Joe, for example, right? So there we go, right? So that's really the fundamental flaw in this website here. Finally, of course, right, is what happens when this fails, and this is really the standard. This is what most popular YouTubers who go over the website, this is what they see, right? Is okay, we disconnect this redstone observer, and then we select the h1 element that exists, and we set it to rad. Then we set the background color to this dark red background. Then we add a box shadow, sure, right? Then, if the document header exists, which, I mean, I guess people are deleting headers now, but okay. So anyways, this is just a quick check to see, okay, if the document header exists, then we just add, we insert adjacent HTML before the end, right? So basically all it's going to do is it's going to insert HTML after this style, right? But before this, which is the end, right? So we're going to insert HTML, then we have all this fancy styling, which is really just the shaking thing that we saw earlier. Like, for example, if I go back in here and I trigger this, right? If I say yes here, right? As you can see, this thing happens in the background, and that's kind of what the script was doing to begin with, right? So let's click. Well, let's not click OK. Let's actually just go to a new tab. It's faster. So yeah, let's go back to sources here. And yeah, so as you can see, we have set timeout, but you notice we parse war here. What is war? I think we might have missed that, right? So let's take a look at what war is, right? And looks like I might have missed this on my first scroll here. It says, ignore this please, underpaid jQuery dev. You would think YouTube would have paid him enough already, but I mean, I guess not. But I mean, hey, college debt isn't free, so yeah, it's been unfortunate. But as you can see, war is this utter big string here, and this is actually the reason why. If you remember earlier, like when I was kind of scrolling to the right, it's that long. It is because of this war definition here. This is a super long variable here. Now, obviously, this doesn't look anything like it. It looks really similar to def. So we have to see what's going on in war, right? So first, we replace OO. Just any literal string called OO, we just empty it out, right? We just delete it. Now, obviously, this code is really suggesting that that the answer should be yes, but I mean, it's whatever, right? So we place that first. Then we replace uwu, which I mean, hey, right? If he wants to be a furry, so be it, right? Okay. Yeah. So we place that, right? Then we have the last one, which is A to B, right? So as you can see, this string is really just sort of scattered around, right? It's really just sort of all over the place. But what's going on here, right, is if I copy and paste this real quick here, right? Let's go to the console, right? Once again, let's say var test equals this here, which that's weird. What the heck? Did I copy? Oh, I did not copy and paste this correctly. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. So that should be fine now. Here. There we go. So now if we go into test here, right? This is the war string. And now we're going to apply the same edits, right? So first, yeah, let's replace OO, right? So we have test replace, right? Slash OO G and blank, right? So as you can see, the string size has been reduced quite a bit, actually. But yeah, like if you're looking closely, you'd see OO, you can see UU, right? So then after that, let's replace again, right? UU G, right? With nothing. As you can see, the string has shrunk yet again, right? So, so yeah, this is GD Cologne's website here, as you can see. Got some very suggestive strings here, but okay. But yeah, so now we can say, we can wrap this in our A to B call, right? Because this is, again, base 64 encoding. As you can see, we get the JSON string, right? And of course, we have to JSON.parse this, right? So let's do that. And there we go, right? So let's see 14 items here. And these are all the alerts, right? So we go back into here, right? Yeah, right here, right? So that's the last of them. Then here, if we so I guess let's recap here real quick before we get to this line here again. So we have okay, so start here. Every time the document changes, if it has no body, i.e. we delete this, right? What happens is we create a new body, we insert into this new body, stop trying, did you just remove body tag? No, right? And then we set the document body to this new body, and that's that, right? So as you can see, right, that's what we get. Then, okay, alright, we have our body, alright, so let's find an H1 element. Now what's weird is that we find this, now what's really weird is the case of the early return, right? Like, if we return here, right, we don't care about what's down here, right? So the way GD Cologne could have written this code was something like this, right? We'll actually move this out of here, right? And this would actually essentially, yeah, this would essentially be the same code. Oh, is my stream broken? What the heck? Oh, no, it's fine. Okay. Alright. I thought it broke for a moment. Okay. Alright. We should be good. I'm hoping. But, let's see. Okay. So, let's continue on here, right? So, oh, that's weird. It should be fine now. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we shouldn't have any more packet loss today. I might go over that at some point. But anyway. So as you can see here, right? We have our where were we? Right. So let's continue on here, right? So if the body does exist, right, then we want to find all the non-H1 elements that contain yes. And if there exists any non-H1 elements that contain yes, we set the background to be black, we show our simpler messages, and we send them to not a Rickroll, but something else, right? Otherwise, right? All right, let's get our single H1 instance. And if we did not find the single H1 instance, then we want to replace the body's inner HTML with this bro WTF message, right? So, if I delete this, yeah, we get that, right? So that's kind of what this is doing. Then otherwise, if we have our H1 element, and it's one of these valid strings, right, then that's fine. We just return. It doesn't matter, right? Otherwise, we will disconnect the observer. So in other words, once this happens, that means that the script will no longer track for things, and this actually leads to something really interesting. But we'll get to that. So then we find our H1 element, which is strange because GD Cologne could have done this, like so here. So that's a bit strange why you'd have to select the H1 element again, but sure, right? Then we have our background color, we have our box shadow, and we insert more styling like before. And then we finally use this war function, this war text here. Again, JSON.parse. So this is once we parse the war and all that, right? Then for each, right? Again, we just go through one by one, right? So you fool, I bet you think that's pretty clever, right? Then we have our window location ref equals this A to B. And this is once again why, if you went into the inspect, you couldn't just automatically find the Rickroll, right? It's because it's encoded like so here. And sure enough, this is the Rickroll URL, right? So there you go, right? And then, of course, we have this last line here. This is really important because we don't have this, right? If we don't have Redstone Observer, if we don't begin observing, right, then this will never run, right? So we have to actually tell it to begin observing, right? So this is document element, which, let's see. Yeah, we just observe this document element, right? Which I assume would be... Okay, sure, yeah. All right. Then I guess these are just like all the things to track, right? So we want to track the child list, the subtree, the attributes, and character data, right? I'm guessing that this is just the inner HTML, right? But yeah. So that's pretty much it. The rest of this is just a lot more jQuery stuff, so I guess that's nice. But yeah, so remember how I mentioned that this observer would be disconnected? Now this is actually really interesting for a few reasons, right? For one, we're referencing something ahead of time. Because in some programming languages, this would actually be illegal. You'd have to define something like redstone observer, something like that, right? Then you do something like this, right? Now, I'm not sure if this is valid JavaScript syntax. It probably isn't. But you'd have to hoist it, you'd have to declare it ahead of time so that you can call stuff like this, because otherwise, the parser will not know that this is valid and it will actually crash. But JavaScript's weird, does that, no problem. So, and now the other thing is this, right? So if we go in here and we sort of if we sort of set this to yes here, let's show something interesting, right? Yeah, okay. Well, we're gonna have to go through this. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. And we get back to the Rickroll, but let's go back here, right? And because the Redstone Observer got disconnected, what we can actually do is just set this to like no, or like hello, and nothing will change. Nothing changes. But what's interesting here is we can actually just clean up after itself, right? We can just do this, right? And just say yes, right? And all we have to do is just delete the style, right? We can just do it like so, right? The other thing is we have this, and just delete the style, and there we go, right? So this is actually yet another way to edit GD Cologne's website into saying yes. Is to just comply with the website, let it delete the observer itself, and then you're free to do whatever you want. So that's actually really funny. As you can see, right, we can just say like div, right? And there you go, right? So in other words, we just let it delete itself from existence, and then we just edit it. Like we just let him say his thing, and then just go back in and just edit this, no problem, right? Now, of course, there's one last way, and this is like incredibly obvious. Incredibly obvious. All you really do is just go in and there should be a place to disable JavaScript somewhere. I know it's like in Firefox, but let's see. Like Firefox has it pretty easily, but let's see. Yeah, disable JavaScript right here, right? So we can do that, right? Then we can just refresh the page, and because JavaScript is disabled, we can go in and just like we can just set this to yes, right? Like if we disable the JavaScript, like obviously you can do that. That's very easy, right? But that's no fun, right? That's boring, right? And it just makes all the methods that I just kind of described like kind of moot, because like you could just do that and it's like the easy way, but like nobody likes that, right? Like come on, it's not fun, right? So let's enable JavaScript now, because I prefer my websites to be normal. But yeah, so that's pretty much the entire analysis of gdcolon.com/furry. I know this is a bit over elaborate, but yeah, this is what happens when you're in Desmos for too long. So yeah, deal with it, I guess. So yeah, that's the analysis. I think I'm going to close off with, let's see here. Let's switch back to this other window here. If it'll let me. There we go, yeah. So let's actually go into our wallpapers here and just play out. So yeah, thanks to everyone who watched, and if you're somehow here trying to get out of context clips like into the future, hello. Yeah, you had to watch through this all, huh? Okay. Alright, so that's all from me. Thank you all for watching, and you know, I might do more of these streams actually, but yeah, I'll have something cool coming out later today, hopefully, so yeah, stay tuned.